Like many of you, I found myself asking a lot of questions about the New Orleans Saints after week 2. Mostly, where did this offense come from? How is the offensive line performing as well as it is? And what deity possessed Derek Carr's body and is carrying out these acts on the football field? Anyways, the point is, they were absolute world beaters on offense, dropping 47 and 44 on the Panthers and Cowboys respectively. Now, I know those aren't world-beating defenses, but still, it's ridiculous output. So naturally, my biggest question became, is this sustainable? Not necessarily the 40-plus point production every week, but just generally the elite level of offensive output they were getting with seemingly unspectacular players. That question is still to be determined in my opinion, but the Eagles certainly exposed some of the holes in their operation that could become problematic if they don't iron them out. But I'm getting ahead of myself here. Allow me to explain just how incredible the Saints offense was first. Buried in the mess that is the NFL offseason and its news cycle, the Saints moved on from offensive coordinator Pete Carmichael, and they hired Klint Kubiak, an offensive assistant from the San Francisco 49ers, and notably the son of one of the architects of modern offense, Gary Kubiak. Now, nepotism is clearly a huge part of the NFL and just football in general, but that's not the topic of this video. The move to hire play callers who have the phone number of Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay is hardly a new idea, but Kubiak's a little bit different in that he's called plays in the NFL before. He was actually the OC of the 2021 Minnesota Vikings, and that offense was unspectacular. They finished 17th in EPA per play and 25th in success rate, so not exactly setting the world on fire, but spending a couple years under the tutelage of a guy like Kyle Shanahan is obviously enticing for a team like the Saints. That being said, I highly doubt anyone was expecting the Saints offense to come into the year and set the world on fire the way that they did. And one of the ways they did it was just by bringing over common Shanahan concepts like drift. Now, drift is just a hard play action play to draw up the linebackers and a 12 to 14 yard in right behind it where the receiver kind of has the autonomy to settle into a zone if he so chooses. And it's usually paired with a swirl route on the other side, which is just a corner stop. But the main two types of plays you're going to see with this offense are outside runs, usually outside zone, and deep shots off of hard under center play action. So now let me dive a little bit deeper into those two things. Through 2 weeks, the Saints were running outside zone a staggering 54% of the time. So they clearly want to get out on the edge, and in order to do so, they actually went heavy. They ranked top 5 in the 3 main personnel sets that feature only 2 wide receivers, and dead last in the use of 11 personnel. Additionally, they were using 2 running backs way more than any other team in the NFL, 13% higher than the second place Chargers, and Greg Roman is their offensive coordinator for God's sake. The reason any of this even matters is because the Saints' goal was to make defenses play heavy against them, and it was working. Through 2 weeks of the season, the Saints were one of 2 teams facing base personnel more than half the time, and now base personnel is 4 DBs, 3 linebackers typically, versus nickel, which is 5 DBs and 2 linebackers. Base is typically slower than nickel, and that's what's important here. And they were the only team over 60% in that aspect. So they were using this to their advantage by getting out on the edge and beating all these slow linebackers to the perimeter, and then coming right back and using hard play action to throw the ball over everyone's head with their 2 speedsters, Chris Olave and especially Rashid Shaheed. And before I go on, I did want to show you guys what happens when defenses match the Saints 12 personnel looks with nickel. They use this to their advantage by bringing Mason Tipton in jet motion, and then they got Troy Hill, who is a 5'10", 182-pound slot corner, to slide into the box as a weak side linebacker, and then they just paved him out of the cutback lane to spring a 9-yard gain for Alvin Kamara. And so moving on from the ground game to the air now, they were using play action at a rate almost 10% higher than anyone else in the league. And Derek Carr seemed perfectly comfortable chucking the ball downfield under pressure in a way that we haven't seen him do in years at this point. Here, take this post-over combination that these offenses love to run off of play action. It does not matter what coverage the Cowboys have on here. Derek Carr is just going to trust Rashid Shaheed to beat it anyways. I mean, look at when he throws this ball. He hasn't even gotten close to breaking the coverage, and it just doesn't matter because Rashid Shaheed is the fastest player on the field, and Derek Carr trusts that he's just going to outrun whatever coverage the Cowboys have on and lay it out there for him to run under. All of this is, of course, aided by the fact that Klint Kubiak is doing some wonky shit to make the defense second-guess their assignment. Like, he's using Taysom Hill, Rashid Shaheed, and Alvin Kamara as rushing threats all in the same play. Eric Kendricks has been in the league for nearly a decade, and they even had his head spinning here. And then you'll see him put Rashid Shaheed at halfback, Taysom Hill at fullback, and Alvin Kamara split out wide as an isolated receiver. Other than that, having wide receivers like Mason Tipton here blocking their asses off helps turn 5-yard gains into true explosive runs. It's also important to note that the offensive line was playing out of their minds through the first 2 weeks of the season. You got Eric McCoy out here reach blocking linebackers at the second level, Lucas Patrick getting to the front shoulder of a 4-eye from the left guard position within 1 step, and of course you had Talisi Fuanga, the rookie left tackle, just manhandling guys at the point of attack. But going into week 3, something that you may or may not have already figured out is that this is a high wire act that relies heavily on frankly unsustainable early down rush efficiency. Just to give you some of those numbers, the Saints' first and second down rush EPA was .111 through 2 weeks, by far the best in the NFL. But when you factor out garbage time, that number exploded to .388, which if you don't understand EPA, that's fine. Just know that MVP Patrick Mahomes was at .302 per dropback, and dropbacks are way more efficient than running the ball. So ludicrous numbers, of course, but obviously not sustainable. Unfortunately though, maintaining an efficient run game on early downs was essential to getting Carr in the pass game into third and manageable and keeping the chains moving. So when Eagles defensive coordinator Vic Fangio looked at this offense coming into week 3, he knew exactly what he had to do to throw a wrench in that early down run game. Say hello to the 6-man front. Loading up defensive fronts do a couple things, but the most important thing that this does is it sets the edge hard against outside zone and forces running backs to cut back into cutback lanes that are already filled by the remaining defensive linemen. Now, this might look familiar to you, and that's because it is. The picture I'm showing you now is from Super Bowl 53. The Patriots deployed this 6-man front to stop the outside run scheme of Sean McVay, and they took it from Vic Fangio, who first showed the blueprint to beating this offense in December of that season with his Bears defense. Now, there's plenty of videos of this on YouTube already, so I won't get too far into the history of this. All you need to know for now is that Vic Fangio has the blueprint for stopping an offense like this. Another thing that he does against teams that run a lot of play action is change the picture post-snap. This is the same post-over combination that the Saints scored a touchdown on the last 2 weeks, and what Fangio presents pre-snap is just a basic too-high look. But the moment Carr turns his back to the defense, CJ Gardner-Johnson bails to the post and Reed Blankenship drops down as the robber to take away the dig route. Play over. Or you get a play like this, where they give no man indicators pre-snap, and then the moment Carr comes up from his play-action fake, boom, the Eagles are in man, everyone is blanketed, and Carr just has to eat this play. Now, there's one more thing that I wanted to touch on that could sink the Saints offense beyond a perfect game plan from the defense, and it's the offensive line. I mentioned earlier that they were playing out of their minds as a collective unit through the first 2 weeks, and that was true, but injuries started to pile up in this Eagles game. Eric McCoy left early with an injury that is expected to sideline him for a while, and that forced Lucas Patrick to slide into left guard, who was then replaced by Oli Udoh. And he had a rough go of it on Sunday. He wasn't able to execute some of the high-level blocks that they asked Lucas Patrick to do, and injuries also caused some miscommunication with new guys in there, as you can see on this play where him and Cesar Ruiz run directly into each other. And sorry to say, but I'm still skeptical of Trevor Penning. They were absolutely maximizing his skill set through the first 2 weeks of the season by getting him out in space and using his athleticism to their advantage. But there's still examples of him taking bad angles, and frankly, I still just don't trust him as a pass protector. These issues for Penning didn't just show up in the Eagles game, they showed up early on as well. The offense was productive, obviously, but I still feel like there was room for more. On this play, Derek Carr probably hits Chris Olave on this deep curl if Trevor Penning isn't already getting beat by the inside move from Jadeveon Clowney. So all of this is just to say that the first 2 weeks of the Saints season is a promising thing to look at. Any offense that's that explosive should be taken seriously, but we should probably keep our expectations a little bit lower until they show an effective counterpunch, an ability to put more on Derek Carr's plate and have him handle it well, or just have more depth across the offensive line, because as of now, I don't really trust it. That's all I got for today. Hopefully this gets out before the Saints-Falcons game on Sunday and there's nothing important that happens that would make this video irrelevant or something that I'd miss. If so, I'm sorry, I'll make it up to you guys somehow. I think the next step is to do some videos on individual players, so we're going to get a little bit more specific with the content over the next few weeks. And then I'd like to improve this background here. Ideally, I wouldn't want my PC in frame, but it just kind of is the way it is for now. So other than that, till next time. Now enjoy Derek Carr.